Welcome to Make It Now with Linda Lang. Today is going to be a fun experience for you. We're getting closer to the holidays and a lot of us are trying to figure out what to make or what to give to our loved ones. These are the perfect gift. This is a pillowcase. How many people have a pillow? Well, we're going to make these pillowcases. And I really love making them. They're lined inside. They look really good. You can make them with either a serger or a sewing machine. Now I'm going to do a sewing machine because many of us don't have sergers. But if you have a serger, you do the same technique that I'm showing you today with your serger. But I'm going to go ahead and do the sewing machine. So this is a pillowcase that I had made for my mother. And so this is, she loves Snoopy. You can make it with cotton, flannel, fleece, whatever you like. So this is what we're going to make today. All right, of course, the first thing you do is you find your material. And I like to use a little bit of a edging for my cutting because I will use a rotary blade when I cut my material. You can use scissors. That's also a good idea. I don't want to have you go out and buy anything. Just use what you have. So you want to get 2 pieces of material. You want to get a yard, at least a yard of material. This one's really cute. It says, I woke up this way. I woke up this way. I woke up this way. And then you get a contrast of piece. For example, in this right here, there's my contrast. So we're going to put this in as contrast. You can use black, pink, blue, whatever is in your pattern, but I'm just going to use this. So the first thing you want to do then is, of course, cut your material out. And it's so easy. You know, you just open up your piece of fabric. Now I'm going to show you something that I did on this board here. I'm going to show you real quick. See what I did? I do these so much that I actually wrote the dimensions on this piece of cutting board. 21 inches wide, 25 inches long, 10-inch cuff. Okay, so this is what I mean. 25 inches long, 21 inches wide. Now this is double thickness, okay? 21 inches wide and a 10-inch cuff. Now this doesn't look like 10-inch because it's not, because it's a 5-inch folded in half, so it is a 10-inch cuff. So you have your nice finish on the inside. So I have a cutting board here and I'm going to use it because I'll just count 25 inches long. 25 inches long is here. And by the way, if you buy a 45-inch wide piece of material, you got it made. You don't have to do much cutting. You can actually keep it that length, that width. Okay. All right, so, and I don't like this edge on here, so I will cut that off. But it's the salvage, and the salvage just means it's up and down. You want to make your pattern go up and down, not this way, because there's a give in it, and this way there's no give. There's give this way, but there's no give up and down, depending on the kind of material you have, of course. Don't use jersey or don't use satin. It's just not wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to go down to 25 inches here. See right there? I'm going to go from 1 inch to 25 inches. I'm just going to use scissors and I'm just going to cut off this end so that at least the words go straight a little bit. Okay, better. So go to 25 inches here. And then I'm just going to cut at the bottom here so that it's a complete 25-inch square. There's my 25 inches to there. There's my 25 inches to there. And it says now 21 inches wide. So because I don't like the selvage, and you can just use scissors, you can use your rotary tool, I'm just gonna cut it off. Both sides, make sure that the edges are together, and I cut both sides off. So now I've got this wonderful little square, 21 inches wide. So I'm gonna go on this side because it's 21 inches on, starts here. So 21 inches goes to here. And take a look at this. This piece of material is exactly already 21 inches wide. So if you, like I said, if you get a 24-inch wide piece of material, you've got it made. It's exactly what you need. You don't even have to cut down the sides. I kind of like my pillowcases to be a little wider anyway, trying to shove in those pillows that are pretty fluffy. Okay, so I have got this down. And I'm not going to cut the side. I'm going to leave the side folded. So keep that side folded and everything else is cut. And you want to set this aside. That's the top part of your pillowcase. You take the rest of the material from the top part of the pillowcase, and now we're going to do the 10-inch cuff. Again, it's going to be the same width, 21 inch wide, but it's going to be 10 inches. So let's do this again. You don't have to make it complicated. All you have to do is have a piece of material, fold it in half, and you probably got your width already. Now we're going to do the cuff. The same width, 21 inches wide, but 10 inches long. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 inches right there. Now what I can do, and what I normally do, is I just kind of fold this up to that mark to make sure it's even on both sides, and then I cut it so that it's straight. Okay, that's my cuff, and I am going to cut off this edge here because I did it on the other one. Okay, there's that. Now you take the trim, which is going to be the edging part, and you want to make it 2 inches wide and 21 inches long. So you make sure you go down to your 21 inches and 2 inches. So what I like to do, because it's thinner, it's not as thick, I just fold it up a little bit like that. And then I want to square off the edge a little bit. So I do use my square because it's straight. And then I just cut that. So now it's nice and straight. I go to my edging of my grid and I go 1, 2, and then I'm just going to cut to the 2. And I like to fold it in half because then it fits within this grid cut piece, because it's so hard to, you know, do this and do this. So I like to do it right in half there. Make sure it's up to both sides of the grid and make it 2 inches. I'm going to do it twice to make sure it cuts through. Okay, so then this will be folded in half and go into my project. That's all there is to cutting out the material. Again, you will need a sewing machine. Now we're ready to start sewing. Before we get started, I want to show you what we do with this little strip. We need to iron it in half like this. So not only do you iron this in half, but you iron the cuff in half. So I'll be right back. I have both of them now ironed in half. And you take the edge, and that's when you're going to put the raw edge to the raw edge to the front of your cuff. Okay, I'm at the end. I'm at the end now. So I pull it out, and then I just cut off that little bit that's at the end. So now I have this piece like this. Just like that, okay? Now we're going to sew it to the rest of our piece. You don't iron anything, you leave it facing completely down still, like this. And then you take this piece, right sides together. Okay, when you sew it together this way, make sure your edges are together. And it's a straight stitch. And then just sew it all together, all these pieces. Okay, so we're at the end. Now, if you look at it, it's so beautiful already. It's almost done. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And now to use the sewing machine like a serger, you simply make sure that the pieces are down like this, okay? And you zigzag stitch all the way down. Just zigzag all the way down. I have got a nice clean finish now. I open it up and there's my beautiful pillowcase. All you do now is put right sides together. Like that. Now I have a little bit of a ledge here, so you want to make sure you compensate for that. And when you're putting these two pieces together, okay? See how I have a little bit of an edge there? To make it easier for us to do, I just do a little trim, just a little triangle trim to that part so that it's out of my way. The pillowcase is very forgiving. You wouldn't even know if you were a little crooked, okay? But you want to make sure when you sew this together that the edges are together, that this little strip in the middle is together as best as you can. And you might want to pin it. Now, I don't pin it because I've done them so many times that I don't pin anything. All right, so now I just simply sew it all together. All the way down. You want to make a nice clean corner, so you just pick up the material, turn it sideways, and keep on sewing. Okay. In this example, I have a lot of material along the edge. And now you can't really see it so good because of the white stitching. But I do know that I've got like a 1/2 inch of material along this edge. I can leave it that way. As a matter of fact, there are some materials you do not need to do a zigzag stitch because they don't fray. This frays just a teeny bit, not much, just enough to mess with me. So I'm going to start. Of course, I'm going to take off my little threads. I'm going to start at the bottom where I started, and I'm going to zigzag all the way around. Make sure you cut off your threads on the ends. All right, now let's take a look at our pillowcase. So here it is. I've sewn it together, right sides together, and let's see what it looks like. Look at that. Came together beautifully right here. Turn it all the way inside out, or right side out. And there's our pillowcase. Go up inside and poke the corners out a little bit. There is your beautiful pillowcase. Instantly. I'll tell you what, you can make about 20 of these in a day, and you have gifts for everybody. So here's your pillowcase. You can fold it beautifully, put it in a gift, and you are ready to go and wrap it up as a gift. Make it now with Linda Lang.